Why are we here? That question has echoed across civilizations, whispered in the catacombs of ancient temples, and etched into the cuneiform tablets buried beneath millennia of dust. But what if the answer has been hidden from us? Not by accident, but by design? What if the Bible isn't a sacred book of divine revelations, but a redacted history of alien rule? In 1896, a brilliant Semitic scholar named Nathaniel Schmidt was silenced. His crime? Discovering that the most sacred stories of the Bible, Adam and Eve, the flood, the Tower of Babel, weren't divine at all. They were plagiarized, stolen, copied almost word for word from the Sumerians. And the original storytellers? They didn't speak of God, but of beings from the sky, the Anunnaki. These aren't myths. These are detailed records carved into stone over 6,000 years ago, describing advanced beings who descended from the heavens and genetically engineered humanity to serve their needs. And now, after thousands of years of suppression, their story is breaking through the cracks of history. But be warned, what you're about to hear cannot be unheard. In the hallowed halls of Colgate University, a quiet revolution was ignited. Nathaniel Schmidt, a preacher and professor fluent in ancient tongues, Hebrew, Syriac, Aramaic, Coptic, began noticing eerie parallels between the Bible and something far older, the Sumerian tablets, the tale of Adam and Eve, already told in the Eridu Genesis, the Great Flood, nearly identical in the Epic of Gilgamesh. Even the Tower of Babel had a Sumerian twin. These weren't divine coincidences. These were translations, summaries of stories much older and far more disturbing. When Schmidt published his findings, the reaction was swift and brutal. A heresy trial, public disgrace, expulsion. Not because he was wrong, but because he was right. His work threatened the entire foundation of Christian and Jewish theology. The Church, already shaken by Darwin's evolution, couldn't afford another fracture. But Schmidt didn't stop. He continued at Cornell University, and his research pointed toward one chilling truth. The Bible was not a divine revelation. It was a sanitized history of ancient contact with non-human entities. The Anunnaki. Imagine the implications. That every Sunday sermon, every baptism, every whispered prayer may be built on a lie. When European colonialists began excavating Mesopotamia, they uncovered more than clay and stone. They found messages, 200,000 tablets carved with strange glyphs that predated all known languages. Most were dismissed as decoration, meaningless scratches from a primitive past. Until 1835, enter Henry Rawlinson, a military man with access to the forbidden cliffs of Behistun. What he found was the Rosetta Stone of Mesopotamia, the Behistun inscription. 3 known languages, 1 script, cuneiform. It was the key that unlocked the oldest known written history of humanity, and what it revealed was earth-shattering. These tablets weren't myths. They were legal contracts, trade records, genealogies, and stories. Stories that described gods descending from the sky. But they weren't gods. They were described as sky beings, powerful, technologically advanced, and in complete control of early human societies. The Sumerians called them the Anunnaki, those who came from the heavens to earth. These weren't metaphors. They were the source of every story we later rebranded as divine. When the glyphs were finally translated, they painted a chilling picture. Humanity was created, not by a benevolent God, but by an alien race in search of labor. According to Zecharia Sitchin, one of the most controversial yet influential interpreters of these texts, the Anunnaki arrived on Earth in search of gold. Not for vanity, but for survival. Their home planet, Nibiru, required atmospheric repair. Gold, when atomized, served as the perfect reflective shield, but mining Earth's gold was laborious. The Anunnaki, advanced as they were, didn't want to dig. So they created a solution: us. Sitchin argues that they fused their own DNA with a primitive hominid, likely Homo erectus, and produced Homo sapiens. The missing link in human evolution isn't missing, it was classified. This was no divine creation, it was a genetic project. The story of Adam being molded from clay, a metaphor for genetic manipulation. The rib of Eve, a symbolic reference. To mitochondrial DNA, the serpent in Eden? A warning about knowledge that could unravel the truth of our origin, and when humans began to multiply, threaten the hierarchy, and question their creators, the Anunnaki initiated control, protocols, lifespan limitations, mass resets, the Great Flood. We weren't children of God, we were property, bioengineered, managed, and monitored. The Sumerian kings list is one of the most peculiar and under-discussed artifacts in archaeology. It doesn't merely list kings, it time-stamps them. And the dates are staggering. Before the Great Flood, kings ruled for tens of thousands of years. One dynasty, comprised of just 8 rulers, lasted 241,000 years. That's an average reign of over 30,000 years per king. These aren't typos, they're calculated to the day. The same civilization that gave us 60-minute hours and 360-degree circles didn't mess up their own history, so how could these reigns be possible? The answer lies in hybridization. The earliest kings weren't fully human, they were part Anunnaki, giants, in stature, intellect, and longevity. Gilgamesh, the semi-divine king of Uruk, claimed descent from these sky beings. His epic isn't a myth, it's an autobiography. And after the flood, when the Anunnaki withdrew from direct rule, they installed hybrid bloodlines to govern humanity. These royal lines, obsessed with divine right and blue blood, may still echo in modern monarchies, religious hierarchies, and elite families. The pyramid isn't just a symbol of power, it's a family tree. Why is this history so deeply buried? Because control requires ignorance. The Vatican holds vaults of forbidden texts. Governments redact documents under national security. Universities blackball professors who step outside orthodoxy, all to keep the same narrative intact, that we are alone, that we are chosen, that everything is as it seems. But the ancient texts tell a different story. A story of contact, rebellion, and return. Multiple civilizations, Maya, Hopi, Dogon, Zulu speak of sky gods who promised to return. The Bible speaks of a second coming. Revelation warns of stars falling, trumpets sounding, a rapture. Could this be the return of the Anunnaki? Or their replacements? NASA monitors space objects. But who monitors NASA? Telescopes now point toward an object on a 3,600-year elliptical orbit, called by some Planet X. Others call it Nibiru. Its last pass allegedly triggered the flood. What will happen on its next approach? Maybe we weren't made to worship. Maybe we were made to serve. And maybe the masters are on their way back. So now we return to the question, why are we here? Not to fulfill a divine purpose, not to prepare for heaven, but to survive between epochs of surveillance and suppression. We are descendants of an engineered race, born in a lab, baptized in labor, and baptized again in lies. The sky gods, the Anunnaki, were not myth. They were rulers, scientists, colonizers. And every echo of religion, every glimmer of royalty, every coded scripture is their fingerprint. We've been taught to fear the forbidden. But what if the forbidden is the truth? The Bible is not wrong.
It's incomplete. The Sumerian tablets don't contradict Genesis.
They complete it. And if you've made it this far, it means you're ready. Ready to question everything, ready to awaken, and ready to watch the skies. Because soon they may return. If this shook your foundation, share it. Like it. Subscribe to Doom Theory. The veil is lifting, and what lies beyond is more terrifying than we've ever imagined. The ancient texts have spoken. Now it's your turn to listen